A very hearty welcome to all of you, especially those whose faces we rarely see. At this auspicious occasion, the launch of the LUCS Digital Archive. We've known for a long time that there's a huge amount of history lying behind this canal, and it's been hidden away, not deliberately, just never come to light in any organised way until this particular project. So what we'll do tonight is we'll have Danny tell us what the digital archive essentially is, and then John will explain how it works, and then Danny will pick a few gems from the archive to just to inspire us a little bit to inquire further. If there's anybody does anybody not know John Aitken, it's hard to imagine. I mean, John has had his digital champion, his finger in every pie in Linlithgow for a very long time, but he is I was going to say a digital whiz kid. The kid bit worries me a little bit, but digital whiz, certainly. Danny, you'll remember from the talk that he gave last month about Reading, and Jim Loney, who has been instrumental in providing information for this as well, did the initial talk of this series. So it's been a collaborative venture. And I will shut up about it now and let you get on and listen to what they have to say, bearing in mind that there will be the chance for questions at the end. So if I can hand over the baton, so to speak, to Danny, and off we go.
Towards the end of last year, we got approached by a young lady called Laura. She'd been past the basin a couple of times paddling the canoe, and she was studying at Edinburgh University in museum management and things like that. And she was interested in doing an internship with the LUCS Museum. I did a bit of head scratching to think of something that would be suitable and offer an interesting project. Then I had that kerchung moment. We have a vast library of photos, as a lot of you will know, but hardly anybody has access to them. They're in various formats: negatives, slides, prints, digitally on SharePoint. And we've also got a large collection of videos in various formats, but that's for another day. These, I felt, we need to be made available to members and the public in general, as we do get a number of inquiries each year about the canal. The photos have been taken over a large number of years by members, including Bob Murphy, Judy Gray, Martin, Richard Tolman, Elspeth Ross, and many, many more. Many had been catalogued, particularly by Judy, Elspeth, and Jim and Nuala. It took a bit of time for Laura to get her approval from her sponsors, and by that time, lockdown was nearly upon us. A great idea, but where did we start with lockdown? Brilliant. So I thought, well, who knows about websites, etc.? Of course, a no-brainer, John Aitken. But how do we communicate now we cannot meet face-to-face to work things out and look at the pics? Zoom seemed to be a way forward. At that time, Laura decided to return to Germany. So again, an ideal way to communicate. So each Thursday we had a Zoom meeting. David Shearis joined us, and he was, as he only lives up the road from the basin, could easily access the libraries without breaking lockdown rules and load up pictures to SharePoint. And we also had Jim Loney join us on the team. So we were off and running. Well, for me and IT, it was off and crawling. John and Laura investigated various packages, and it was decided to go with Twingo as our system. John will demonstrate how easy the system is to use, and an important point is it's free. We have done the groundwork and created most of the pictorial history and the views of the Union Canal, which is what we have concentrated on so far. These are presented in a logical order from Port Hopetoun in Edinburgh. We're a long way from finished, as we still have the LUCS history to add, and that runs into thousands of pictures, as well as we will be adding more pictures of the canal as they come along. So you've heard enough from me, or maybe I hope you've heard enough from me, I don't know. And so it's over to John, and he's going to guide you through the technicalities.
What I'm going to do is just take you through how it works. I'm not going to pay any attention to the content, but just simply how do you access it and how does it work. So you can either start from the LUCS website itself, which is what we're looking at here, or you can start from its own website, which is museum.lux.org.uk. But you'll start from the LUCS website, Canal Centre, you'll see there's a new menu item, Digital Archives. So you click on that, and lo and behold, you're transported to the Digital Archives. This is what the home page looks like. Take you around the home page. First one is keywords. If you hover over keywords, you see a list of keywords, which will change depending which keywords we've got in just now. And if you click on any one of these keywords, you get all the images that relate to that particular tag. Okay, the next one is more details, and that allows us to put extra pages in. Right now there's only one page, which is an about page, which tells you a bit about the project, but that is probably going to be added to. There'll be more pages come in there later on. And there's a couple of links in there. One of them goes back to the LUCS website, and one of them goes to advanced search, which I'll talk about later on. Okay, the next one is search itself, and I'll talk about that later on, but search is a kind of mixed blessing because it doesn't quite work as well as we'd like it to sometimes. Over at the other side of the screen, there's a login button, and the good news for those of us who are in the team is we can use that to log in. The bad news for all the rest of you is you can't. So that's only for those people who are actually working on the project. So you're all working as guests, you don't need to log in. And then finally on the home page, there's a wee globe. And if you click on the wee globe, it will show you all the geotagged items that are in the archive, of which there are a vast number. So there you are, there's all the geotagged items. There's 581 at the present time of these. The next thing we'll talk about is albums, and you can see here there are 4 albums up here: LUCS, Canal History, Canal Museum, and the Union Canal. That's the 4 of them. And the albums basically are the top level of the whole thing. So they break down into sub-albums and into individual pictures. So you'll see, for example, the LUCS has 11 sub-albums, History has 4, the Museum has 57 photos and 4 albums, and so on. Pretty straightforward. And then finally, at the bottom of the page, there's OpenStreetMap, which shows a map. And on the map are numbers, which tells you how many images there are at that location on the map. I'll come to that later on. So let's look at the top level categories. First of all, click on LUCS. The LUCS category is incomplete, but what we hope to do eventually is to put several thousand of LUCS archive pictures into there. So right now you'll see there's only a token gesture of a few photographs in there, but there's going to be more. You'll see here I've now got what were called breadcrumbs. I can go back home just by clicking on home. Then there's Canal History. It's divided up into sections: maps and plans, the early days, 1970 to 98, and the more recent period. The museum, in fact, is just all the artifacts that are in the museum. So you'll see pictures of all the items that are in the museum. And finally, the Union Canal, which presently has only got a collection of milestones and bridges, but eventually that is going to have other things like aqueducts and other features of the canal. Milestones has got, courtesy of Jim Loney, it's got literally every single milestone on the canal from both east and west face, and the bridges, courtesy of mainly Martin, has got all the bridges on the canal as well. Not just the road bridges, but footbridges and other bridges as well. So that's all of that lot. As I said, there are categories, subcategories, and then underneath all of these are the actual images. And I'm going to use the canal history, and I'm going to use the 1970 to 98, and I'm going to use historic views. And you'll see there, these are all the thumbnails of all the images that are in historic views. And the view that I decided I was going to use to show you was, I've lost it now, there it is an aerial view of the basin. So that's an individual image. And you can now see the details that you get with an individual image. First of all, at the top here, you'll see the thumbnails, which lets me go back to wherever I want to go. I can go back to 1970 or whatever. Where's my view that I was looking at, that one? The next thing you'll see is a little arrow here, which in fact lets you do a slideshow. So if you click on that, you get a slideshow and it changes images every couple of seconds. And if you're running a slideshow, stop the slideshow is also an option, but also is go back. So you can move backwards and forwards through the slideshow, and you can stop the slideshow. On here is a sizing icon that lets you choose 3 sizes of images. You can have small, medium, or huge. Small looks a bit like that. I can't see any reason why anybody would want a small image. Medium is the size that's normally shown by default, and huge are as big as you probably want, which is that sort of size in this case. And with the huge images, you do have to pan about the images in order to see the whole thing. It's going to take up more than your screen. I'll go back to medium, which tends to fit in the screen. Alongside each image, there's the dimensions of the original image, which doesn't really help you very much because you can't see the original images. You can only see these 3 sizes that we've given. It tells you the file name of the image. It tells you the keywords that are related to the image, and that's quite good because if you click on that keyword, you'll get all the other images that are linked to the same keyword. We haven't put all the keywords in yet, so in fact, some of the images are not yet tagged. Then underneath that, you get a location, which shows you a little mini map of where the image actually is, and that's part of OpenStreetMap. And not all the images have got geolocation, but the ones that have geolocation, you can see that map. You can move the map around. It'll fill in the bits that it can't see at the present time. Eventually, it will, if I wait long enough. Anyway, so that's OpenStreetMap, and basically you can open the thing on OpenStreetMap, and what you get is a big map with the image that you've clicked on highlighted on the map. Okie dokie, that opens in a new window, so you can shut that window down and get back to where you started off from. Right, geolocation. Yes, let's go back to the home page and just use the map. If I click on one of the icons on the map, you'll see a thumbnail image. Happens to be a bit of a canal marathon in this particular case. If you click on the thumbnail image, you get transported to that individual image. If there's more than one image in a location, it tells you the number of images that are there. So the Lithgow Basin, funnily enough, has got 166 images. There's 23 there, there's 67 there. Let's just use that 67. The images aren't necessarily all in the same place, and if you hover over, you'll see there's the area marked out. It shows you 67 images inside that area. If you click, it zooms in a bit, and you can now see there's 1 down here. There's 21 there, there's 21 there, there's 7 there, and 3, and so on. Keep clicking on images, keep clicking on these little icons, and eventually it will expand to the point of them being single images. So if you keep clicking, it will find individual images. That leaves me with search. There's really kind of 3 ways of searching. One of them is to use the keywords. So if you do, let's go for aqueduct, for example, you will get all the pictures that relate to aqueduct, and you get related keywords. So you get aqueduct plus horse. So there's the pictures that relate to aqueducts and horses. So that's quite a good method of searching. Another method of searching is to use the search box, and that works reasonably well if you want to put in an exclusive term, like let me put in John Aitken, for example. And lo and behold, it produces pictures that relate to me. And immediately you find some slightly funny things because some of these are actually pictures with me in them. But that one there's a drawing of the Slamanan Basin. And it's only in there because my name is part of the description for that basin. It says that I drew the image, and therefore my name has come up with it. So that's why that method of searching doesn't really work very well, particularly if you put in a very general term like museum, for example. You're going to get just about everything. So if you're looking for an obscure term, it works pretty well, but you'll see there, I put in museum and I've got 224 images selected, some of which relate to the museum, but an awful lot of them don't. So I don't really think much of the basic search. But under more details, you'll find there is an advanced search. And if you click on that, you get a very, very sophisticated search engine page, which lets you search for words, lets you search keywords, let you search dates. So you can do very, very fancy searching in there. You just click all the things you want and then click on submit and off it goes. So that's enough from me. I'll pass you on to Danny and he will show you some of the images that are contained in the archive.
David made up of the actual Port Hopetoun, Port Hamilton basins. This is the aerial view of Fountain Bridge, taken there, the picture I was looking for. This picture actually is of quite significance to myself personally. This is Bridge at Fountain Bridge, and the building you see on the right-hand side is St Curbert's Cooperative Head Office. To anybody that lives from Edinburgh, it's called 92. It's got a lot of history for me because behind that was Port Hamilton Bakery, where my dad used to work for many years. Then he became the janitor of St Curbert's head office. And for my sins, my first wife actually worked in there as well. And there was a building just immediately off the picture. That used to be the Palais de Dance, and it's a place I used to go. I love the health and safety that went into this picture. I think the DA would have a field day with that picture. Kids hanging over the front and everything. That's Victoria when she arrived in 19...
You want to click on it, Danny? So we can see it.
7, was it, John?
That's it.
Right?
78, I think. Or 77.
78.
Maybe 77 or 78. 78. Spring of 78.
78. There it says 78. Yeah.
You can see the big gap between the propeller and the rudder, as a result of which you couldn't steer the bloody boat. It just went in a straight line no matter how much rudder you put on. We changed all that.
I am in there somewhere. We've got a medium. I'm in that picture of one of the marathons. That was a 1982 marathon. And of course, this is the picture I like the most. First win of one of the marathons. Well, it was the Novice Prize. And that again was 1981, I think that was. As you see, there's lots and lots of different stuff in here. One of the things you'll notice in these pictures, it's quite sad that a lot of the people in them are no longer with us. This was Santa arriving on the canal. We picked up Mel Gray along at Friars Bay at his house. Actually dragged him along on a sledge. And that's Bob Wilde as well, again, sadly no longer with us.
A stone couple.
Oh, I remember that.
I am sure that's you, Ian.
That would be me because, yep.
Just under the bridge.
It was me and my father who were in the final, and I actually won the final. And so I became punt of the year, which is a prize I still keep.
The only prize you got, oh no, you won a few marathons, didn't you?
Bob and I won a lot of marathons. Yes. That's a great picture. They were a bunch of nutters. I really enjoyed them.
Yes. The other thing that LUCS used to do them a bit more, and I know that Stuart organised one last year and it was a great success, is actually to go picnics with a boat. I don't recognise, only recognise about one face in there, which is I think in the middle, which is Di Wilde, and I think it's Bob Wilde, this other one with the pink hat on. But see if I can take it up a bit. No, but I'm not sure, not quite sure who's all on that picture. 1979. This is the more conventional way of emptying a canal. Is if you look in this picture, down in the bottom left-hand corner, that's how you empty the canal. And there's a big, you open that, actually pull that up, and that opens in the canal into the burn, which eventually flows into Lithgow Loch. And when that happened in 1981, all the pike went down into the loch, and they found lots of trout. Didn't go down well with them. It didn't go down well with the
angling club.
The fishermen there. This I draw a proposal for. Can you see that? Is it too big for you?
Yeah, fine. Yep.
Yeah. This is a proposal for Preston Road. Now, we're not sure if this was actually a proposal that Ronnie Hobson put through because Ronnie done a lot of the work on actually doing all the drawings for Preston Road, but it looked like they were going to keep the original culvert and put through a pipe as well for the boats. I think that would have been a bit of a problem anyway. Does anybody know any more about that? Anything? No?
I think you're right, Danny. I think it was Ronnie Hobson's original
muted,
idea before he designed the proper bridge.
Yeah.
The idea was an Armco sleeve, like the one they used to have at near Avonside, alongside the culvert.
This is one of the people, obviously you all know that face, and he's admiring the work that's going on at Preston Road. And of course it was Mel, when he was a councillor, that actually got Preston Road actually closed off, or they got it culverted at that point. So this was in 1992. There's another face that is well known around the canal, and one of the ones that obviously
You won't see many pictures of your mother because she was
pushed
always...
and we got all the way, Ronnie Roussac. Ronnie, I spoke to Ronnie not long ago, but I believe he's not very well at the moment. Colin, sadly not with us. That was at the opening of the Falkirk Wheel in 2002. I don't know if it's saluting or saying don't take a photograph of me there, I'm not sure. There is, and this is a true black hand ganger.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you actually managed to get that muck off your thingy, but I hope you weren't trying to eat any sandwiches afterwards anyway. When the M8 was opened and Victoria was met, the Pride of the Union coming through from underneath the motor. So that's probably one of the pinnacles, I would say, of LUCS's history. Lots more images there, folks. I mean, I could go on and bore you out to absolute tears. The guy, by the way, there with a striking shot, that's me. So, are there any questions anybody got? I'm sure John will be able to answer all the technical ones. Any other questions? I'll try and answer them if John can't answer them.
Danny, just before you finish,
So I'm going to stop sharing now.
I was going to say, you want to put in breach? We've got some nice pictures of the breach at Kettleston, I think, back in the 1980s.
Right, okay. Yeah, this was Kettleston in the 1980s, like 82.
And you can
Everything
see
seemed to happen in 82 in these pictures, by the way.
Yeah, the canal bank went
to of course,
Kettleston, just opposite the quarry. And the canal was dewatered for quite a few years, because it wasn't until 1992 that it was in fact repaired. And you can see there the drain section between Preston Road and the quarry at Kettleston. And that's the nice new canal being put there. And we used to do these aqueduct trips on Victoria, and the boat took a positive lurch of speed whenever it got past Preston Road, because we went onto a piece of canal that was actually canal shaped and proper depth and all that sort of stuff. It was amazing.
That's what you're going to have to do shortly along at, where's it?
Your Avonside.
Your Avonside. Certainly, I must admit, having seen some of these things in the past, there's no way I'd want to live below the canal as I used to do at one time. You could spend out, I mean, this project's finished. I mean, I've got some pictures which are going to be added in as well. And then we're going to start on the LUCS collection, which is absolutely vast. And as you can imagine, I mean, anyone that's been around the canal a number of years will have heard Judy Gray with a camera in your face. Before that, it used Bob Murphy. And the other thing we do have, I've got it from Judy's daughters, a box, and that's all I can describe it, a fairly large box full of cine film, Super 8, goodness knows what, I'm not too sure what's all in it. So when we finish this, then that's maybe something we need to look at getting some funding. We have got funding, we've had some funding from the Museums and Galleries Scotland for a slide copier. Some of the prints were actually done in the sort of, call it first generation slide copiers. So a lot of the prints have been really quite remarkable, the difference in the quality of the prints for the latest copiers. I think there's much else I can say. I think you've just got to get in there, play around. You can't do anything wrong with it. Can they, John?
No, what I was going to suggest is if people are in the mood for it, I can do a quick conducted tour through the structure if you want. We can have some hands up to see who would like to do a quick zoom through the structure of everything. Yeah, one or two. Yeah, well, I'll do that then. I'll just take you a quick run through the whole thing. Okie dokie. So what we have under LUCS, we've got 11 albums. The first one is Boats, which is pretty obvious, which is about all the boats that we've got. The second one is about the museum, and right now there's only 2 pictures in there, which is Tam Dale opening the museum, but there's lots more to add into that in the future. The next one is about the tea room, and likewise there's not very much there. There's yours truly there on a Deacon's night. Next one's about the Mel Gray Centre, and again there's a lot of pictures. The next one's a biggie. There's marathons. Those of us who got involved in the marathon, there's a fair few pictures of marathons there. There's Danny getting his prize. There's myself and Gavin in the second marathon that we took part in, zooming through Linlithgow. After the marathons one, there's one about rallies, which is about canal rallies. And again, we have lots of pictures, but right now there's only one, which is the famous picture of the canal rally we had the year after LUCS was formed, when we had the horse pulling U66. That was there were some converted weed cutters that we bought from the Scottish Canals, or British Waterways as they then were, and we took the weed cutting equipment out at SRPS and made them into little trip boats. And I think that's Miss Watt there, sitting at the front of that boat, and my kids and myself in that boat. We also borrowed the Angling Association of the weed cutter, this white boat up at the jetty. That was their weed cutter, and we actually used that on the canal. And of course, the Canoe and Adventure Club were still occupying what's now the tea room, so there's lots of canoes about on there. So lots of stuff in amongst there. The next one is events, and right now the main event we've got is Barbara getting her MBE. So there's Barbara. There's our acceptance speech for receiving the MBE, but again, there's vast numbers of pictures of LUCS events, so we'll get them done very soon. Then we've got one for the Black Hand Gang, which is literally the picture of Ronnie that you saw before, plus one of Graham Harvey and A.N. Other. I'm not quite sure who the A.N. Other is there, putting in the services down the road in front of the tea room. And then we've got the marches. We've got a very good collection of virtually every marches that LUCS has ever taken part in. There's a famous one. There's Danny and his first wife Liz. Barbara, would you believe? Tom Hill, Bob Murphy, Brian Alps. Some good pictures in there. The Canal Fun Day, again, there's nothing very much. That was the first cardboard boat race in which Katie and myself, and I think she was called Heather, managed to win that in a boat called the Maid of Abercorn. They allowed you to paint them in those days, not allowed to paint them anymore. And that boat did so well that somebody took it away from me at the end of the event and took it into Edinburgh and had it going at Harrison Park the next weekend. Then we've got Christmas. So that's the LUCS section. The history starts with some drawings, and David Shirres has put an excellent selection of drawings in there showing the proposed routes for the Union Canal, a lovely design for the Falkirk wheel that somebody rigged up before somebody eventually realised that having only 2 casings was quite a good idea. I think that one is about 6. Where are we? Back to canal history. Up to 1969 is probably the most interesting one. There's an awful lot of really good pictures in there of all sorts of things. You get about 20 odd images, and then you get on to next, takes you on to the next set, and so on. There's some lovely pictures of Linlithgow Basin there. There's the derrick crane that used to go on the post that we've still got. And Danny said the Black Shed, but it's not the Black Shed, it's mother of Black Shed or father of Black Shed, the one that was there beforehand. And it was a coal yard, of course, at that time. And then we've got the 1970 to 98, it's divided into canal works, boats, historic views and events. The historic views, again, there are many, many of them, of things over that period of time. Really worth looking at. And then the more modern times, celebrations, canal works, and the Falkirk wheel. The canal works is mainly the Millennium Link project, all the work that went on there. Let me go back to home again. And then finally, the Canal Museum is just all the artefacts in the museum. There's a separate one for bottles because we've got a lot of bottles. There's a separate one for, I think, model boats because we've got quite a few model boats. And generally speaking, everything that's in the museum is in there. And the Union Canal, as I showed you before, is just now it's only milestones and bridges, but eventually it will be more. So I hope you've enjoyed that and found it all worthwhile. I'll stop the share and I'll unmute everybody, and you may have to unmute yourself as well. Any questions, any comments? Welcome.
Well, can I, John, could I just say something on behalf of Mum and Dad? So
Yes.
Your founder and some of the lady who supplied some of your photographs. I mean, Mum would have just loved that. I think she would have just been purring with enthusiasm, and the fact you've got this wonderful website where you can put them on, and I know you've still got masses to do. And Dad would have loved it for a different reason, nothing to do with the technology, of course, which he was absolutely useless at. But just on behalf of them, I think, they would want me to say, keep up the good work. It's fantastic. Yes. And the fact you've kept going through this interesting period we're all living through is just amazing. So thank you for letting us join in tonight. We've enjoyed that. That was lovely.
Well, thanks for the comment. I think the interesting period we're going through with COVID is one of the reasons why the project got done in the first place, because there's nothing much to do. So
Yeah.
just get on with it.
Yeah.
Can I point out that if
it was quite a pity.
There's a mechanism for doing so. If you go to the bottom of your page to participants and prod that, it allows you to raise your hand electronically. There's a little blue hand which you can click, and I know then that there's people waiting to ask questions, so it stops people talking over each other a wee bit. At the moment, I've got one blue hand from Stuart Little.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much, Danny and John. I think it's great to see George McBurney with us tonight, an extremely busy man at the moment, and earlier Richard Miller, who's an extremely worried man at the moment. And my question is, if one has a photo or photos or video which may be worthy of inclusion, what is the mechanism for submitting them, John?
I think the best thing to do is send it to David Shiras. He's been doing most of the sort of submission of images actually into the archive. So if you send it to treasurer@lux.org.uk, David will put the image in if it feels good. Right now we can't do videos. We tried to do videos and we found there were problems with the server, so we can only do still pictures, I'm afraid. But we do have a LUCS channel on YouTube. So if we've got videos, we can put them on the YouTube channel. And still images can go into the archive. Incidentally, the recording of this meeting, which is being recorded, will be put on the LUCS YouTube channel probably tomorrow or certainly sometime later on this week.
Okay. Danny's got his hand in the air electronically, if not.
It was just to say to Sally that we've not forgotten about this box of videos you gave me, but it comes in all different formats, from Super 8 to videos to I don't know what. But one day we'll need to get I think we need to get some sort of grant probably to get them all properly sorted out.
I wouldn't worry about it. The three of us have, between the three of us, I have all the old photographs. Judith has, I think, Mum's slides of other things that run to thousands, and Kirsty has videos and cine films, and we haven't looked at them since we left Royal Terrace, so we've still got a lot of work to do as well. But enjoy when you open the box.
Oh yeah.
Open the box.
I mean, I've spent many a night along at your mum's till about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, having a cup of tea, coffee, and the odd drink.
Yeah.
I think your dad went to bed. He didn't
Yes.
enough. He went to bed. Anybody else got any questions? Ian, I think you had a question, didn't you? Did Ian not have his hand up?
I did have a question, but I got it answered. How to send more stuff? Because I've got marathon stuff. I've got a bunch of other odds and ends.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
There are no more questions.
Mike.
Yeah.
I don't have an electronic hand.
Okay, David.
Can I just say, as a newbie in this association, I've only been in it 10 years. What I find with what John and Danny have done is amazing because it just sets the whole context. And I think that idea of historical context in an association like this is amazing. And it's something I'll certainly be dipping into. And you guys, you actually know the people as well as the history and the plans and all the rest of it. I know not a lot about the people. I once met Mel Gray, I think in the 1970s, when I was teaching in the Lithgow Academy, and he came to the school to talk about the canal, and that was the only time. I think he worked for the Co-op in Glasgow, did he?
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's the only time. Yeah, that's the only time I met Mel. But no, brilliant for people like me. So thank you very much indeed, guys. Okay.
Thanks.
And David Shirrers.
Any others want to say anything? If not, I mean, I'm more than delighted with what I've seen tonight. I'm absolutely thrilled at this because the amount of time that I've spent in the past trying to get suitable pictures for doing talks to various organisations and rummaging unsuccessfully and finishing up drawing them myself. And I see that there are far, far better productions in the archive than I've ever managed to produce. So my life's going to be a whole lot easier if I still do talks. So I'm absolutely thrilled. And I go with David's point about the historical context of it all. That our organisation isn't just a coffee drinking and boat playing organisation. It has some historic significance and use to the societies in general. And it's so nice to see it so well illustrated with this. So thanks to all the folk who've contributed and indeed will contribute to this. I think it's something that will grow and grow, and welcome at that.
I think Richard wants to say something. Richard, do you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, yes, thanks. In the early 1960s, I think before the canal closed officially, I believe the British Waterways introduced a small fleet of hire boats on the Unicanal. And from reading about it years ago, I seem to remember they were built keel sailing cruisers without a mast, and they had a bit of trouble getting through the canal. I've never seen a photograph of that. I've not seen any recent evidence of it anywhere. I'm wondering if anybody has heard of that, or if it. Or
yes, they were there. They were there, Richard.
Yeah,
they were there. I haven't got any hard evidence for it, but I did. The rumor is true.
Certainly nothing in our picture gallery that we've found anything like that.
Well, I'm only too happy to add what pictures I've got and let somebody else gauge their merit. And I'm sure that anybody else who has anything at all would be more than happy to see it into the archive.
I think, not trying to put a damper on the supply of photographs, because we're delighted to have them, but I think we've got a fantastic selection of photographs of things that LUCS were involved in, and we haven't even really started adding them. So it's more historic photographs that we're interested in, things like the hire boats in the 1960s. We've got nothing of that at all. We've got some lovely pictures which are included of Preston Road being removed, not the culvert being removed, but the previous bridge being removed and replaced by the culvert. And I'd never seen them before. So we've really enjoyed making this because we've seen all sorts of stuff we'd never seen before. And they've all been sitting there in boxes doing nothing. So the idea of the archive now is to put them out in the public domain so that people can actually enjoy them and look at them.
I have a blue hand from Chris Gunston.
Yeah, I was just, you just got a clip in there with the Canoe and Adventure Club Jonathan put it up. I have no idea whether there are any photographs from that, but I did email Rosemary French to see if she wanted to join in this thing, because Rosemary was part of that. And there's also Ewan Duncan, who was chair of the organisation for some time. So if it's of any interest, I can certainly ask them if there are any photographs.
We would be interested. They used to be regular. They had a wayfarer that they used in the Western Isles, and they had a very significant activity at the basin for quite a few years. I remember.
Yeah, we were part of it. And I know Ewan Duncan is always sailing on the west coast at the moment with Valra.
I think Craig Duncan was involved as well, wasn't he?
He was indeed, yes, yes. And
of course, Derek Marshall, who's still involved to this day.
Yeah.
Jimmy Philp. I think James Philp was involved as well. Who's a local plumber.
Interesting. Yeah, the twins as well, who one of whom is a plumber. The Bathgate. Andy Bathgate was part of it. I'll see if there are any photographs, and if there are, see if they're of any interest.
Thank you.
Lost lights.
Yeah.
Lost lights.
Right.
Certainly, that's a period we're missing about 1960s, probably 50s and 60s.
I don't know if you're all following the various things that are on chat, but we've got an offer about Murabinside breach photographs being offered by Mr. McBurney, so that's nice to know that we're going to have some of them. And you may have been following, David Shirres wrote an article on behalf of the railway side of things with some quite nice pictures of the breach as well. So we'd like to see it gone, but it'll certainly be included while it's happening.
Well, this is what history is all about.
Mm.
It all happens sometime. So it's good to be part of it, isn't it, really?
Yep.
Any other thoughts, questions? No? Okay, good. Well, thank you very much, everybody. A pleasure.
Hi, it's just for me to say a big thanks to John, to David, to Jim, and to Laura, the young lady who has been working with us closely in Germany. And on the last day she was working with us, she actually put on her Bavarian dress, etc. She looked pretty. But no, we'd hope that she was coming over to this week, but I don't know if we're going to see her or not. If so, we've got one of the LUCS plaques made up for her, so as a little souvenir and a thank you. So thank you, everyone. That's I hope you maybe heard me, you maybe didn't hear me, because I seem to break up at this end.
How'd you find Danny?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Danny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, one and all.
Cheerio, everybody, then.
Good night.
Cheers, thank you, bye.
Thank you.
Kill the meeting.
Thanks, Danny.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Night, night, all.